everyone. Welcome to Real Estate with Ryan Coleman in the studios on a Saturday. So excited to be with you guys. It's a new year. I told you I'd see you next year. Happy New Year to everybody out there. 2020 is officially here. Oh my goodness, a whole decade in the books. Kind of hard to believe that a decade has went by and so many things that have happened. You know, I was watching the news the other day and they show kind of what happened in 2019, and it shows all these world events and different things going on. Does it ever make you guys wonder kind of what was going on and where were you at? What are some exciting things that you guys did in the last decade? A couple things with me and I'll share with us is, obviously Hometown Realty was founded in last decade, which was exciting. I love my wife. She's not here today. But so excited that and our birth of our first child. So just a whole lot of things there that we're excited for, so thankful for, and excited for 2020. How about you guys out there? Do you hope you have some good vision, some goals, things you want to accomplish? I know 2020, everybody starts off January 1. We started off yesterday back to the work. It seems like it never stops. So we were working on New Year's Day out there, working and prospecting and doing the things that we need to do. So it's always fun. But we talked about those goals and where you need to be, and haven't figured all my goals out yet. We were working so hard as a team to really help all these families and get a lot of deals closed and help everybody with the madness of the end of the year. So as a business owner, you guys probably understand the end of the year, and we'll kind of tie into this topic a little bit in our show today. It'll be the end of the year, taxes. Well, January 2nd, new year, you'll probably be getting those W-2s and your tax information, and they'll be due here soon. So we're going to talk about today on Real Estate with Ryan, what's the importance of buying a home, and is there any tax benefits on it? So we'll talk a little bit about that. I think at the end of the second segment, we'll talk a little bit about, being self-employed. Can I give you any tips? We did a vlog the other day on the end of New Year's. Maybe you guys see it. If not, it was fun. It was end of the year kind of a hustle down to Georgia. And we talk a little bit about that, but we didn't go in depth. So maybe I'll spend the second part of the show for any of you self-employed people out there, own business. We'll kind of chat about some ideas and the challenges in the marketplace of being a self-employed person. Kind of challenging. But our show today is a good one, and so excited to be with you guys. April sends all the love. I just want to let you know we're a couple weeks down. It's baby countdown. So we're about 4 weeks out that April's due, February the 9th. So prayers for us. Hope you wish April the best. She's struggling over here. And so she may or may not be back in the studio, at least the first part for a while, but we'll be excited. And you guys stay with it. If you're following us on social media, if you follow us, when baby Isaac is born, I will make sure that we get you some video clips and some footage of him. I'm so excited to share him into the new world. So super excited in the Coleman house today. So let's talk about buying and owning a home, tax benefits. What makes sense? Well, let's start with that show. So if you're buying a home, number one, don't buy it for a tax write-off. That's what I would say, but does it make sense? Buy a home because it's something that you want to do and it makes sense. I'll start off the conversation with this, and we have this over the last couple years in the marketplace today and kind of where we're seeing the inventory, right? The millennials, there's a market now that the millennials right now are renting, right? They don't think owning a home really makes sense. And, they're kind of cool and happening and they got so much going on and they're like, I don't need to buy, I'll just rent. And so some of that's there, and a lot of things that has happened from the market that they have come up in, where the market was 08 and 12, where the market was really down. They saw the effects of the housing market and didn't want any part of it. And I don't blame them for that. But we're going to talk about purchasing a home and why it makes sense. I'm going to start off the show, and we did a survey, well, not us, but Harvard University, and why making a purchase of your new home not only makes sense for you and your family, but financially. So there was a survey done by Harvard, and they said that a difference between, at the age 65, between a homeowner and a renter. And I got a little graph for everybody that you guys are watching me on the stream, but I'll talk to you about it. And it says in 65 years or older, the average individual had $319,000 in a house, and that homeowner had $143,500 in equity. Now the renter, on average, had about equity of negative $6,700. Homeowner versus renting, and that's the study at Harvard University. So take that for what it is, making sense that having an investment in your home is going to have equity. We say, well, what does that affect on the taxes, Ryan? What does it make sense? Well, these are good things, and if you're going to buy in 2020, let me tell you the power of that. Rates have probably never seen the levels that we've seen in a long time. We posted something on Facebook the other day, actually today, and we looked at rates historically back and some time ago. They were up in 12%. Hard to believe that now, but the rates were at 12%. So being rates at 3% and below, or 3.5%, are such an advantage now that really make a difference. If you're kind of on the fence thinking about renting versus owning, well, with the rates and everything really makes difference and financially makes sense. Is the interest that you pay on your home mortgage, is it deductible? Well, things have changed over the last couple of years, and they used to be always deductible, but there's some changes. So the answer is yes, with a caveat, right? So if you have a mortgage that's $750,000 or below, then you're going to be able to take that deduction. There used to be a $1 million limit, but there's been some clarification on that. So basically up to $1 million, up to the exclusion, $750,000 on the mortgage amount. So the answer is yes, that would probably going to hit most of us. Some of you guys it may not affect, or may not get that deduction, but of course you're in a different tax bracket then. You're not looking for a tax deduction. You're looking for a whole lot more than a tax deduction. You're looking for that forever home. You worked hard. You're buying your luxury estate, and you're not worrying about that. So that's a different ball game. And kudos to you if you're in that position. So let's talk about what things are deductible and how that makes sense on the purchase. Well, we're going to talk about those taxes. Got to pay the taxes. Those are deductible. Now, on the prior tax stuff, now let me jump in here because somebody will come on here and say, well, you're not a tax guy. I'm by far not a tax guy. So seek your competent CPA. Get a good tax person in your corner. We're going to talk about that in the second half, why you need to hire the right person. We talk about it in real estate all the time. You need to get a tax guy, CPA on your corner working for you because they know these loopholes. And we're talking about how big the tax code is and all those rules and deductions. Let me tell you that nobody knows it all. So you need to get somebody that's going to help you guide through that so you can limit the amount of money you pay Uncle Sam. And that's always a good thing. But the tax law now for taxes, right, are going to be $10,000, and that's for state and local. So more than likely in the Knoxville surrounding areas, $10,000 are going to cover most of your taxes. So the answer is going to be yes on that. If your taxes are going to be covered, it's going to make that happen. Let's talk about when you buy a property. So when you make a purchase, you're going to pay something, more than likely pay closing cost unless you're going to pay cash. Well, closing cost usually is a makeup of multiple fees. Closing cost is going to have something called your prepaid taxes. Most lenders like you to put up a certain amount of money of prepaid months of taxes in your payments. They're going to make sure you put homeowners insurance. Then when you close, there's recording fees, tax fees. You're going to probably get a loan, so there's something called points and then discount points. But if you pay any points and all those things and appraisals and title fees, that is made up of your closing costs. The actual points are deductible on your taxes. So when you close, a lot of our clients, we're going to be sending out statements that if they did close in the prior year, you want to get a copy of that closing statement because it's going to have, if you had any points or any cost associated, you'll be able to write that off in 2020. Now, refinancing, you can usually deduct points as well, but it's over the life of the new mortgage. So keep that in mind. Let's talk about, most importantly, let's see. We don't want to talk about that. What about the mortgage insurance, right? Let's talk about mortgage insurance. So if you guys are familiar with mortgage insurance, not only can you pay the points, but we have mortgage insurance. Mortgage insurance is something that if you're not putting 20% down, and most lenders in the area are going to require you to have mortgage insurance. It's usually included in a payment monthly with your taxes. So we have something that makes up your payment. You've probably heard of it. It's principal, interest, taxes, insurance, and then there's that mortgage insurance included. So if you pay mortgage insurance, that's going to be deductible for the year when you get your lender statement at the end of the year, make sure you include that because you're going to be able to write that off on your taxes as well. The new tax law will allow you to claim, usually, unless you make over $100,000, you're going to be able to claim that on your taxes. Seek a CPA for all the details on that, but most of you guys will be covered. Some of you guys won't. Make sure you have that covered there. What about if I sell my home? They've got that in here. Keep in mind if you're married on the exclusion. Hey, we're coming up on a short break. Hey, stay with us soon, and we'll be back with Real Estate with Ryan.
When it comes to the real estate market, turn to the experts that focus on you. With over 20 years' experience, Ryan Coleman with Hometown Realty knows what it takes. It's the right marketing. It's the right exposure. Ryan and April will use their expertise each step as they guide you through the home buying and selling process. Ultimately, it's about results.
You need someone you can trust that is committed to you.
You have a lot of choices, but the choice is simple. It's Hometown Realty.
Your friend promised we wouldn't be homeless.
He promised. He's doing everything to fix it.
You need to call and have him fix it now.
Hey, man.
Found us a house.
No, not yet. Let me call you back. We're working on it.
Ryan Coleman with Hometown Realty.
He says he's doing the best he can do, honey.
Well, he's taken too long. I knew we should have gone with Ryan Coleman.
Choosing the right agent is never easy.
Call your hometown experts. We'll take care of all the details and make sure you don't get stuck in a motel. All right, guys, back Real Estate with Ryan. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hey, that break came quick. I was on there. I was just having so much fun talking about taxes and mortgage insurance, right? I hope you guys weren't snoozing on that. So sorry about that quick break, but I was chatting about mortgage insurance. And if you purchase a home, make sure you do know that is covered. Unless you make over $100,000, then that may not be covered. So we're talking a little bit about if you sell a property, the exclusions are there. If you're single, it's $250,000. If you're married, up to $500,000 on the gains, which is a positive, right? Okay, that's if you on the actual amount that you actually gain, right? So that's not on what the sales price or anything like that. So keep that in mind. So $250,000 single, $500,000 married, and usually capital gains. If you own it less than 2 years, then that will not apply. So you have to own the home 2 years. Let's talk about energy efficient upgrades that you guys can do that can get some advantages to it. But I won't go into all those details because they may bore you, but check out energy efficient things. One of the things that you want to think about is the hot water tank upgrade, the tankless hot water tanks, things like that you're giving deductions for. So make sure you include those as you do your taxes moving into 2020. Deductions if you age, so any seniors or if we're getting older, make sure that you know that some of these things are deductible, and keep in mind as you age with the home, the IRS will allow you to write some of this stuff off. Again, these are things that we found on our own, so do verify those and get with your CPA. Keep in mind wheelchair ramps to install in your home, grips, bathtub that you change out to do, for more safety. Any kind of electrical upgrades, lowering lights to make it more accessible, cabinets, home adjustments, anything like that you need to adjust your home that makes it more accommodating, then you can do that. There's a website that you can check out that gives you all the rules and different items that are covered. It's called time.com, and you can see all their rules and information on making your home more accessible for our seniors. Working at home, don't forget that tax exclusion. If you're self-employed like myself, you get a deduction for that. So what makes sense there is make sure you have one of the larger rooms. Make sure you have a good room. It's going to go by square footage. I'm not going to get into all the details on that, but you get a home office exclusion for a percentage of that square footage used for your office. So your home's already making you money. So true cost of not owning a home, we really talked about that, and it really is preference, but I can think that most of the people that we've helped, and ourselves included, and we've all rented at a period of time in our life, it really makes sense to purchase a home and for the long term to be financially sound. Real estate has gone over the last couple of years, the appreciation has been strong. Of course, anything goes up, there may be an adjustment. But over the long term, just like that study in the first part of the show that we're talking about, was that 65 years plus, and they did the survey, had $143,000 and some change equity versus the person that rents. So home ownership really definitely is kind of like our forced savings account on the appreciations. It does have some tax benefits for you guys. It usually is less expensive than renting. And I think this was a good part of the article. What other investment allows you to kind of live inside? And that's so true. You get to live inside your investment and sell it, the American dream. And so that's why we look at, and we also have one other article here. We're talking about Americans choose real estate as the safest investment. And we had stocks at 10%, bonds 10%, gold 16%, savings account at 21%, and the U.S. housing market at 27%. I had some call-ins talk about that first-time buyer credit, and that used to be back in the Obama administrations in 2008, and they got rid of that in 2010, so that no longer comes in play. So we got about 6 minutes on the rest of this show. I hope you've enjoyed that. We're going to talk a little bit more about the self-employment, your entrepreneurs, your business owners, and what you really need to know as we're going into 2020. 2019 is over. We talked about not only were we really busy as a company, and me and April personally, at that end of the year, how important it was to maximize all your deductions and move things around that really make sense. Here's some things that if you're self-employed, maybe my agent friends out there that may help you with, and I'll try to make it as general as possible. So if you're self-employed, the first thing is understanding if you're a W-2 person and you're working, you're probably a sole proprietor or you're getting a W-2. Could be both, but more than likely, if you're sole proprietor, you're self-employed. If you're W-2, then you're not. You're working for somebody. But let's talk about that, the best tax strategy on that I know. Again, I would say, number one, if you're going to be in business for yourself, you definitely want to be in a corporation or some kind of entity. Number one, it's going to give you protection, right? It's going to give you different tax advantages within the system as being a sole proprietor. I had an agent friend that called me the other day and was asking me some questions. And for all my real estate agents and friends out there, this is kind of a big topic. So if you're an agent and you're working for a broker in the area, unfortunately, you're going to be getting income and a sign of a 1099. So a 1099. The challenge with that is that 1099 is going to be paid to you personally. More than likely, you're going to have to put that on your personal return. Not a great tax advantage if you're in the marketplace because you're missing out on a lot of taxes. And so that opportunity for you as a business owner would see what I need to do to actually get that to where it's paying my business, right? There's all kinds of tax advantages for the business, but the sole proprietor, there's really not much. So it's the highest level that you could be taxed next to W-2. So I'd say, look how I could get that done. I'm not going to go into details on how to do all that or if you can even do that. Another reason that if you're self-employed and working for somebody, that if you're not getting those deductions, really makes sense to kind of open your own business or be employed by yourself because you're probably leaving a lot of money on the table. Let's talk about meals and entertainment. So let's say that you are a business owner. Where are those deductions and how do you find them? I'd say the biggest thing that you guys need to talk about or we need to think about as business owners is understand, just like we do this show every week, it's advice. It's finding the right advice, getting the right people to help you. In order to sell a house, you wouldn't think it takes a whole team, but sometimes it really does. It takes people that are great at certain aspects of their trade, and it helps to make everything come together at once. So I have a great team that works with me over here that care about people. And you need somebody in the tax world that's going to bring you together that's not just processing tax returns, that cares about you, and it's going to help you get the most deductions that you can for your family. So I think it always comes down to we've had some tax people in the years, and of course this year we're constantly looking for the right people that they gave us bad advice. And that bad advice has cost us thousands, right? Could cost you losing thousands. So it really comes down to finding somebody that's competent and somebody that you trust in the CPA world. If you own a business and you're self-employed, some things that I would suggest that you need to be looking at is there's all types of deductions. One of the things that is important and is probably overlooked is you make sure that you're paying yourself a salary if you own a corporation, right? If you own a company, you got to watch it, because if you don't pay yourself a salary, then they're going to come after you and say you're not really an entity. So that's one of the biggest things you can do. We know healthcare is on the rise. Don't forget healthcare cost. If you're self-employed, you're probably paying that yourself. If you're a small business, don't forget there's ways to make sure that you can get that paid throughout your business. If you have dependent care, don't forget about that. We pay daycare. It's quite expensive, right? You guys understand that. There's a challenge between the little $600 credit that they'll give you, right, versus the $12,000 that I paid this year for daycare. So you have to make sure that you get the maximum deductions out there. There's also something called a 179. They go, what is a 179? Well, 179 will allow you to purchase a vehicle, purchase things that depreciate, unfortunately, off your basis. So if you're looking for deductions at the end of the year, why you see some of these fancy cars or big SUVs is because they've got a rule out there. If it's over 6,000 or 7,000 pounds, you're going to be able to write that off. Not only write that off, you're going to write it off the first year. So I'm one of those guys. We did the same thing, and there's several self-employed people that take advantage of that. Don't forget our home office deductions. If you're like me, you're kind of on the road all the time. Your car is your work. Your home office is your work. Remember, all your expenses at home, you're going to be able to take off a percentage of that. Make sure that you have your numbers and information there. Meals, travel, education. Listen, any kind of education to get your business further, self-education, things like that are going to be a solution for you. Don't forget, I probably say one of the most important things is setting up your SEP IRAs. Some of the self-employment things out there allow you to put up to $50,000 in the account. And so that's a good way to defer some tax. So ultimately, guys, nobody's going to watch your money except you. So make sure you do the knowledge, take the time, and invest in yourself so you can have an awesome 2020 and protect that money from Uncle Sam. As always, guys, thank you for tuning in to Real Estate with Ryan. Every Saturday you can catch us here. It's an easy number, 693-SOLD or ryancoleman.org. See you later.